All right, hello. Today we have the honor of speaking with Congressman Bera, who represents District 7, which encompasses Sacramento County. Thank you, Congressman.
Glad to be on. Thank you for having me.
So on Ego News, we focus on healthy learning, healthy bodies, and healthy minds. And we're very happy that you could join us today. We know you've been really busy going back and forth to Washington, D.C., and with everything having to do with COVID-19. So we thank you for taking some time out of your schedule to at least talk to us. So we're not going to wait. We're going to dive right into it. We have a few questions, some just dealing with healthy learning, healthy bodies, and healthy minds. And then we'd like to hear some of the other questions that many people are asking right now, which is regarding California's dire economic situation. So first, let's talk about healthy learning. Both you and I think attended public schools, and we're both anteaters from UC Irvine. And I think we both worked, it looked like we both worked through college pretty much to put ourselves through. So with right now, what we're facing with the immense state debt and skyrocketing unemployment rates, what can you tell our graduating seniors, and in fact, all of our students, when it comes to learning in this new environment of distance learning and social distancing, and then the continued concern for health and safety?
I think that's a hugely important question, particularly for the young people who, may still be in high school or K through 12 space, but really for those that are just not graduating. First off, I really do want to congratulate all the graduates. I'm sorry that you didn't have the physical graduation, but as a parent myself, as many of us are, and we live in Elk Grove, we're proud of you, and you do give us hope. I think that the new normal certainly won't be the old normal, and what we've seen here in the Sacramento region, certainly in our community, is we saw the pandemic coming. We came together fairly early. Obviously, the superintendent made some tough decisions, but in hindsight were the right decisions. And that really benefited us. Of the 50 top metropolitan areas in the United States of America, Sacramento had the lowest number of cases, case rate. So that is a testimony to all of us coming together as a community. As we move forward into the next phases of this pandemic, we all have to be in this together as well, as we start to slowly reopen and reimagine what economy looks like, for those graduates that will be going into the workforce. There will be new jobs that are opening up. We're going to hire tens of thousands of contact tracers, essentially these public health detectives that will help us in our recovery. They'll go identify someone who's positive, do the detective work to see where that person's been, try to track down other individuals that infected person may have come in contact with. So we don't have to shut down our entire community, but we can contain clusters. And I think there'll be jobs like that. Certainly we will work hard to create new jobs, building infrastructure and other things. For those students going into college or additional learning, you will continue to see these trends of either pure distance learning, over your laptop, or some hybrid models, because it's probably hard to do some classes in labs and things like that. But for the foreseeable future, while we have this virus, you'll continue to see physical distancing. You'll continue to see recommendations for us to wear face coverings to limit the spread of the virus, and we know that that is really effective. But at its core, for our well-being as a community, country, and world, we will be in this together. And if we continue to stick together, we will get through this.
Awesome. Great insight for all of our students. So appreciate that. Okay, let's talk about healthy bodies. I read that you worked as Chief Medical Officer for Sacramento County. What could you tell our viewers who are parents, educators, and students about the importance of staying healthy during this time where there's still no vaccine, for COVID-19, and we hear so many different messages on TV or on social media, et cetera. What should we be doing?
Well, let's start first by taking care of our mental and spiritual health. At a time like this where this pandemic will affect all of us either directly through infection or indirectly and economically. It's going to create a large amount of stress. And one of the best ways to manage that stress is exercise, certainly trying to eat healthy. But also, we talk about social distancing. I prefer the term physical distancing because we're human beings. We need those social connections. So things that, for the mental health side of things that we've been doing regularly as a family is, connecting with my broad family through Zoom and other platforms, maybe having a game night and trivia night, just, to stay in touch with folks. I've been reconnecting with friends from high school and, calling folks that I've been to call. And, so those social connections are hugely important. My wife and I go for regular walks. And that's important. And for the students who might be watching this, certainly looking for things to do. I'm hopeful that our beautiful campgrounds here in California open up and, in a safe way, folks can go out and, set up their tent and get outdoors. And that's a great activity for a family. Now, switching to the public health aspect of this virus, we did really well as a region and community in the first phase, but we have to understand the reality is we're in the first innings of this pandemic. And we may see case rates go down during the summertime because there probably is a seasonal component to it, but we also worry that we may see a resurgence of cases in the fall or winter. A few things as we prepare for that is we're doing better at our diagnostic testing capabilities. We'll start hiring up that public health workforce. And again, I would say to those high school seniors who just graduated, this is a great way to serve our community and serve our country. And I know the county public health department, you can probably go to their website and they are in the process of hiring that, tens, if not hundreds of individuals. So these will be good jobs. We just have to be vigilant until we have a safe and effective vaccine and can get that vaccine distributed. I think we will come up with therapies that will help us better manage the disease if you catch COVID-19, but we won't really defeat the virus until we have that vaccine. The one other thing that we really can do to protect our health is, this fall, when we do think COVID-19 will continue to resurge, it's also flu season. So the one absolute thing we can do is we can all go out and get our flu shots. That's going to be super important. And it does help protect against the flu because it is going to make our jobs as doctors really difficult when you're trying to figure out whether this is the flu or COVID-19 because the symptoms so much overlap.
Excellent, excellent. So I think you did address the question that we had about the healthy minds in terms of social and emotional, taking care of ourselves socially and emotionally. And I liked what you talked about, that it's not so much of social distancing, it's physical distancing. So I too have been reaching out to a lot of friends that I have overseas and connecting in that way. Obviously no traveling right now, but little by little. And it sounds like really bringing the community together, staying together through this process. And you also brought up some interesting, hopeful things that even though we're in the midst of great change, that's also spurring new developments and new things, new jobs, new types of things to come up that maybe we wouldn't have considered, if we were 3 months ago. So, okay, so I'm going to move down and let's start talking a little bit about K-12, the education and some of the budget issues. So the state budget entails, deep cuts in K-12 education. It's going to hit hard. And Governor Newsom is continuing to, present these numbers and what's going to happen. There's almost about a $15 billion, drop or so in our budgeting. They're working on it, which is great. And Governor Newsom is turning to the federal government to seek relief, in addition to realigning multiple funding sources and cutting critical categorical programs amidst this global pandemic. So it's clear that based on what happened with school closures, that public education is very integral to the foundation of public service. Feeding children, infrastructure is a major, and contributing to the infrastructure, where it's a major economic driver that impacts every aspect of our community. So what are the Congress and Senate working on to ensure that this public asset that impacts countless people and prepares children for adulthood and to become contributors to society remains safeguarded in all states, and in particular for us here in California and Sacramento? During the Great Recession, the federal government provided some critical funding to ensure that public education can be provided. So will that support be afforded to public education in perhaps our greatest time of need?
Last Friday when I was back in Washington, D.C., we voted on the HEROES Act. And in that act, there's close to $1 trillion that can be given to the state and local communities. For the education component of it, it probably will come through the states. There's no greater, better investment than investing in public education. And I don't say that lightly. I feel like the public education I received here in the state of California allowed me to then go on to college and go on to medical school. So the return on that investment is that I'm then able to go out and find a good job, contribute to the community, and in fact, one day become a congressman. So that's an investment, and that's how we ought to think about it. So now's not the time to cut that investment in public education. It's actually more important than ever to keep those funding levels and at a time when we may have to rethink what public education actually looks like. What does that classroom look like? How do we, work with our teachers, our school districts, our school boards to make sure first our kids are safe, but then also that they're getting their education's not suffering. And in that scenario, the schools are going to need those resources if they're going to have to change classrooms and what they look like. And then, on top of that, if distance learning is now going to be, at least for the near future, one of the components in how our children learn. Not everyone has access to broadband. Not everyone has access to computer. I know our school districts have been very good, stepping up and providing hotspots and the technical equipment, but not every family has the same technical capabilities as well. So we have to provide for some of that, and that will be incredibly important. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. The federal government's the only one that can step up and backfill some of these budget shortfalls. And, they very much are related to the pandemic. Nobody expected this. And now's not the time for us not to provide that funding, particularly for this generation of kids.
Okay, excellent. So looking forward a little bit, with state and local revenue being impacted so significantly, what's your view? Is the federal government looking to also provide multi-year relief, as our multi-year projections indicate that for 2021 and 2022, those could be the most severely impacted years or year, if the economy, even if the economy rebounds?
Look, we think, we will be with this virus, not for 12 months, but certainly 24 months, maybe even longer. And that's until we have that safe and effective vaccine. The future economy will look different than the economy looked like in February. So yes, we have to have that flexibility of potentially, helping support the states and local communities through this for the next 12, 24 months, maybe even longer. And again, that goes back to my original comment. We're all in this together. This is not a pandemic that's just affecting Sacramento or California. or the United States of America. It's affecting the entire planet all at the same time. And, we, if we don't approach this as though we're in this together, where some communities may need more help than other communities. Some of us, I feel fortunate that both my wife and I still have our jobs and we're getting our paychecks. It falls up to us that have a little bit more to step up and help those that don't. And if we approach it that way, as though we're in this together, we can get through this. I don't know exactly what it'll look like, but we will be stronger, more resilient, and have hopefully built an education system that equips our children to compete and do well in the 21st century. And maybe that is the silver lining. We've always known distance learning and technology would, were coming. We didn't know how quickly that was going to happen. What this virus has done is it's accelerated trends that were going to happen, and maybe getting that first grader, second grader comfortable with learning this way. A lot of us are going to continue teleworking as well for the near future, and maybe that is a silver lining, that they learn how to do this and are better at it than we are.
Awesome. All right. Well, I want to thank you very much, Congressman Bera, for joining us today. You brought a lot of great insight into our situation that we're all facing. You're reminding us that we all are in this together and we need to stick together. You also brought forward some hopeful news. We'll all keep an eye on the HEROES Act and see how that progresses. And then, I think there's some exciting new trends that come out of this as well. So we'll be looking forward to what lies ahead. So I just want to thank you.
Well, thank you. Be safe, be kind to one another, and be well.
Thank you. Likewise.